early morning, let us discuss the 22 noes, as well as chant, contemplate, and meditate. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi. This is the Lama you are looking for. This morning, we could chant and meditate and enjoy a lesson or two. But first, if you love Star Wars and you wish to meditate as transformatively as Princess Leia on Ajahn Class under the guidance of Luke Skywalker, that was a mouthful. Be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. Now, this is important. If at any point during this morning's live stream you have a question about Buddhist meditation or Buddhist philosophy or even chanting, there is no need to be bashful. Just type your question in great detail in the chat window on the right-hand side of the screen. One moment, I must check the placement of the towel before the leaky air conditioner. Fabulous. Okay. As promised in the opening, we're going to discuss the 22 noes, which sounds like a chorus to a song from the 70s, doesn't it? The 22 noes only makes sense from a yin point of view. A yang point of view, which is known for being rigid and controlling, says everything is literal all the time. And yes, we're speaking in absolutes. The yin point of view says, sometimes it can be useful to be flexible. Sometimes it's useful to be laid back. Things are not always literal. Things could occasionally be figurative. Now, the great irony is that neuroscience and evolutionary biology back up the latter view, that certain processes work better when they're not rigid and controlling, but acquiescent and flexible. So, if the 22 noes are taken literally, there is nothing. However, if they're taken figuratively, then simply there is nothing that can be noticed that cannot be released, at least to a certain degree. How does that work? Because of the wonders of our autonomic nervous system. With every inhalation, vertebrate life forms on this planet are wired to access their sympathetic nervous systems, which have evolved to notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. With each exhalation we have evolved, we automatically access our parasympathetic nervous system, which has evolved for both physical relaxation as well as mental release. When we are in harmony, when our minds are in harmony with our bodies, we're able to perceive and release. Therefore, we can say there's nothing that can be perceived that cannot be released. And into that formula, you can plunk in any specific item. But that, of course, assumes that we have a fully functional brain, central nervous system, and that we are comfortable but with using the technology of meditation to align our intention, our volition, if you will, with the most ancient corner of our mind. Doing so increases our creativity, our problem-solving skills, and our peace as well as love. Before we start this morning's practice formally, let's take 1 minute for housekeeping. Every day I broadcast, every day I live stream 4 meditation classes without any ads, health permitting. If you find value in my explanations and techniques and group practices and enthusiasm to answer the questions you type in the chat window, then allow me to remind you that with your assistance, this channel could help support the next generation of nuns, monks, yogis, lamas, and even brick-and-mortar meditation centers, each replete with a resident teacher and their apprentice. If that sounds like a good idea to you, and you'd like to help out for even as little as the cost of 1 cup of coffee a month, simply use your smartphone's camera to capture this QR code. Or if you're old school, simply click one of the donation links in the description area below the video. We're going to start with an inner preliminary practice known by many names such as contemplation. Well, I guess that was an error on my part. Please accept my apology. A better, synonym for this would be ngondro. So we're going to train the neural pathways responsible for empathy and enthusiasm simply by chanting the recitations of empathetic bodhicitta and enthusiastic refuge. May I liberate all beings from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging by relying on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. May I liberate all beings from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging by relying on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. May I liberate all beings from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging by relying on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. Now we make our way to the contemplation of our outer preliminary practices. But first, take a moment, if you will, to consider this sculpture depicting 2 Buddhas sporting in tantric union. This could be described in Sanskrit as Vajrasattva Karma Mudra. This could be described in Tibetan as Dorje Sempa Yabyum, and in English as Diamond Mind, Mother and Father. The iconography of this yidam, or archetype of enlightenment, functions merely to organize the 8 figures of speech necessary for deeply transformative contemplations. That's it. We're not about the insisting on the existence or non-existence of real or imagined celestial entities. We're simply using these archetypes of human culture to help us understand the 4 contemplations of wisdom and these 4 contemplations of love. Why do we do this? Because the vertebrate life form upon this planet has evolved to think symbolically. Perhaps that is why arguably the greatest hypnotherapist, Dr. Milton Erickson, MD, used language that was full of figures and pronouns. Let's continue. We continue now with wisdom's dance of impermanence and interdependence. Anyone who's played with dominoes understands interdependence. Anyone who's tried eating an ice cream cone before it melted into nothingness, into soup, understands impermanence. Or at least should. So we're going to do is play with allegories. We're going to illustrate impermanence with the verb melt. We're going to use absorption as a metaphor of interdependence. The contemplation of impermanence helps us to leapfrog over our clinging tendencies, and that of interdependence helps us to leapfrog over our competitive tendencies. We're going to begin by bringing circumstances into this dance of impermanence and interdependence. This is a chanted contemplation. What could it look like if all lost blissfully and impermanently melted into rainbow light that interdependently absorbed into this form? We now move our attention to the bodies of all beings of all worlds, including ourselves. What could it feel like if all forms blissfully and permanently melted into rainbow light that interdependently absorbed into this speech? And for shits and giggles, I'm going to adjust this bit right here. Don't hide the P. Okay. We're going to switch gears from the physical to the interpersonal. The dynamic of the interpersonal is communication, both verbal and non-verbal. What could it sound like if all speech blissfully and impermanently melted into rainbow light that interdependently absorbed into this mind? So we switch gears lastly from the interpersonal to the mental. Mind perceives sights, flavors, sounds, scents, as well as sensations. Mind also emotes, intends, reasons, recalls, and imagines. What could it be like if all minds blissfully and impermanently melted into rainbow light that interdependently absorbed into our vast empty void? We now practice our first of two, not contemplations, but meditations. This is known by many names, including Great Completion Stage, Tantra. Come, let us watch the play of mind as we breathe in, as we silently and mentally recite, notice this. As we exhale, let us relax into mind's non-graspable nature by silently and mentally reciting, relaxing. Let's sit up nice and tall and breathe from our diaphragm. Good morning. Remember, if at any point during this live stream that you have a question about Buddhist meditation, Buddhist philosophy, or even Buddhist chanting, there is no need to be bashful. Simply type your question in great detail in the chat window on the right-hand side of the screen. We're now going to bring the 4 bases of mindfulness into the path of love. This practice, this contemplation, is known as love and letting go. It is known by many names, such as generation or creation stage tantra. Let us begin by reviewing the mantra's meaning. Om, I invoke the Benza diamond-like strength of a sattva mind well trained in love and letting go. Supplicating with whom may love and letting go be mastered by all. As we chant the mantra, it could feel as if diamond rays were emitting from a thumb-sized horizontal 6-syllable mantra rosary at our heart. Lavishing all minds, communication, bodies, and circumstances with wisdom, love, health, and good fortune centered and spontaneous. Let us begin. Well, first of all, let us remember that there are 2 techniques we can use to transform mere mantra recitation into actual mantra contemplation. Here's the first trick. During the inhalation, we silently and mentally recite either a wisdom-oriented rhetorical question or a compassion-oriented intention. During the exhalation, we physically relax as best we can into the recitation of this mantra. So, during our inhalation, let us lovingly wish that all minds of all beings now be as wise as an archetypical Buddha, symbolized by a teeny tiny mustard seed-sized syllable ah. Menza sato hungo, menza sato hungo, menza sato hungo, menza sato hung. O menza sato hungo, menza sato hungo, menza sato hungo, menza sato hung. O menza sato hungo, menza sato hungo, menza sato hungo, menza sato hung. O menza sato hungo, menza sato hungo, menza sato hungo, menza sato hung. Let us lovingly wish that each being's experience of the interpersonal was now as loving as an archetypical Buddha's communication, symbolized by mantra. O menza sato hungo, menza sato hungo, menza sato hungo, menza sato hung. O menza sato hungo, menza sato hungo, menza sato hungo, menza sato hung. O menza sato hungo, menza sato hungo, menza sato hungo, menza sato hung. O menza sato hungo, menza sato hungo, menza sato hungo, menza sato hung. Let us lovingly wish that all bodies of all beings now enjoy the health, depicted in tantric art as possessed by an archetype of enlightenment, or yidam. Omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung. Omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung. Omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung. Omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung. Let us lovingly wish that all circumstances of all beings now be as spectacularly fortunate as we see depicted in tantric art as being associated with a real or imagined Buddha's paradise or Pure Land or Vati. Omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung. Omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung. Omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung. Omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung. We now switch gears, returning to the contemplation of the inner, this is debatable, whether it's inner or outer. We're now going to play with the middle ways dance of the conventional and ultimate. We experience the conventional, we mindfully experience the conventional as we inhale. We meditatively experience the ultimate as we exhale. Let's break it on down. How is it that with each inhalation, our circumstances could seem to us quite apparent, and yet, as we physically relax into the recitation of the mantra, these exact same circumstances could begin to feel as if they were as non-graspable as a Buddha's mythical paradise comprised only of light. Omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung. Omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung. Omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung. Omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung, omenza sato hung. How odd is it that as we inhale, our bodies could feel downright sensual, and yet, as we physically relax into the chanting of the mantra, these exact same bodies could feel as if they were as non-graspable as an archetype of enlightenment comprised only of light. Mensa sato hungo mensa sato hungo mensa sato hungo mensa sato mensa sato hungo mensa sato hungo mensa sato hungo mensa sato mensa sato hungo mensa sato hungo mensa sato hungo mensa sato mensa sato hungo mensa sato hungo mensa sato hungo mensa sato How odd is it that as we inhale, our experience of the interpersonal could be downright resounding, and yet, as we physically relax into the verbal recitation of the mantra, this exact same communication could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable as a real or imagined mantra comprised only of light. Mensa sato hungo mensa sato hungo mensa sato hungo mensa sato mensa sato hungo mensa sato hungo mensa sato hungo mensa sato mensa sato hungo mensa sato hungo mensa sato hungo mensa sato mensa sato hungo mensa sato hungo mensa sato hungo mensa sato How odd is it that as we breathe in, mind's functions of perception, emotion, intention, reason, recall, and imagination could appear to us rather clearly. And yet, as we physically relax into a recitation of the 6-syllable mantra, this exact same mind and its functions could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable as a real or imagined seed syllable ah, comprised only of light. Mensa sato hungo mensa sato hungo mensa sato hungo mensa sato mensa sato hungo mensa sato hungo mensa sato hungo mensa sato mensa sato hungo mensa sato hungo mensa sato hungo mensa sato mensa sato hungo mensa sato hungo mensa sato hungo mensa sato We now come to this morning's second meditation, that of bliss and letting go, which is known by many names, including completion stage, Tantra. In verbiage that might sound familiar, with each inhalation, we could feel the play of sensation as silently and mentally we recite, feeling this. With each exhalation, we could relax into sensations' non-graspable nature as we silently and mentally recite, relaxing. Let's seal our practice by training and wishing others well. May I, like diamond, my master the eightfold path as well as liberate others. May all beings practice of kind communication, conduct, and calmness flow spontaneous and uncontrived. May each being take auspicious rebirth, master the Buddha's path, and then help all others do likewise. May everyone be free from stress, may everyone be happy. May no one be separated from the happiness. May everyone have balance from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging freed. If you feel I have earned it, type something in the chat window, give this live stream a thumbs up, and share it on social media. In approximately 2.5 hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's mid-morning meditation. Until then, if you are as geeky as me, this is the way.